Jim Cornette said, Finn, that he wants to get rid of the concerto. He said that's the move that he wants to put in the bin, are his exact words. He said in his podcast after watching the pay-per-view at the weekend, he wants to, or last week's AEW TV, he wants to put the concerto in the bin. So I thought, Finn, it'd be a fun opportunity for you and me to look at the landscape of pro wrestling everywhere, and both of us to come up with what wrestling move we would put in the bin if we had the choice. Also, I want people in the chat to get involved. Let us know what move you would want put in the bin if you had the power. So, Finn, what move is going in the bin and why?
Well, probably like 90% of the Young Bucks repertoire. Can we start with that?
90% of it.
Well, maybe not. Maybe 80%. Certainly the BTE trigger. And like at Full Gear, when they brought out, was it the knee pads with drawing pins sticking out of them? It's like, what's this? It's like pantomime wrestling. So, I mean, yeah, the double super kick. I mean, to me, I grew up with Chris Adams using the super kick. When he hit that move, when he hit the kick, it was over. We all remember Shawn Michaels' sweet chin music. Mm-hmm. Match finisher. I mean, so multiple super kicks in matches. Please, can we just flush them today? I just think we need to go back to making the super kick mean something. Also, the spike pile driver. I'd like to put that in the bin as like a transition move or as a near fall move or as a cheap pop move, whatever you want to call it. That should be a finisher. I mean, that is one of the most devastating moves. I remember the Brainbusters did that in WWF when I first started watching. And I think, how does anyone survive that move? I mean, it just looks like it would kill you. And I just feel like that's a move that should be protected and used as a finisher and nothing else. That is the only way it should be used to end a match. And, I don't really want to go too old school, but I always liked, Jake Roberts when he was in WWF. He was the only one who was allowed to use the DDT. Mm-hmm. And it was nearly always the match finisher. And I just think it would be nice if there was more sort of exclusivity of a certain moves. I mean, there are obviously, like we were just talking about Kenny Omega and the one Winged Angel. I know Adam Page did it and Kenny kicked out of it, but generally only he uses that move. Yeah. So I just think with certain moves, particularly the DDT, and I was really surprised that this didn't happen when Jake Roberts was hanging around, in deference to him and to what he did for that move, that wasn't protected more. What do you think, Ken? What moves would you like to see back off?
Well, first of all, I would like to say, Finn, you're someone who's supposed to be progressive and caring about the carbon footprint. If you're going to put 90% of the Young Bucks stuff in the bin, your recycling bins are going to be overflowed on day one. Lancashire Council are going to have to come by with a bin, especially to get rid of all your stuff.
Yeah, but the business would be better for you. There would be a little bit of pain for a huge long-term gain.
That's a t-shirt right there. The ones that I would pick, the two that I thought of immediately is, I don't want to see any more dives onto multiple people in pro wrestling. Yeah. Nowhere. In any company. A lot of companies are guilty of it. WWE do it, AEW do it, everybody does it. It is not help. It doesn't make anybody look good. And the people who do the move, they do this kind of spectacular thing where they fly over the top rope or they flip over, whatever they do. And then it looks shit because they don't really do anything to them. And then most of the time, you see the people kind of stand around waiting for it. So it's like it takes you out. I mean, we know wrestling is a choreographed thing. Like, everybody knows it. But, like, I think sometimes the dive just takes you out of it so much that you just, God, just get it away. So put that in the bin. But the other one I want in the bin is the Canadian Destroyer. I think the Canadian Destroyer is a tremendous wrestling move. I love it. But that, to me, should be, how are you kicking out of a Canadian Destroyer?
Right. I remember when Pete Williams was the guy who invented that. He's now working backstage as a producer, isn't he, in WWE, and receiving rave reviews from, as I understand it.
Yeah, he did. So, and I think it used to be a move where you would, if you hit a Canadian Destroyer, that was it, yeah.
It was the finisher.
Yeah, I saw Rocky Kingston in the chat agreeing with me, the Canadian Destroyer, but only because the Bucks have stripped it of all meaning. But I mean, they're guilty. Bad Bunny's guilty of it as well. I mean, we had that at WrestleMania, which
Yeah,
made me want to cry. So I mean, it's everywhere. So they're
yeah.
mine. We got a couple here in the chat, Finn. I want to kind of read them out, see which ones you think in the bin or would you keep it. Cats and Bourbon, the 619. Would you keep it or put it in the bin?
Well, yeah, it's okay. I mean, actually, Rey Mysterio had some problems executing it in the match with Bobby Lashley on Raw on Monday.
He
I thought,
did.
what's going on? Ray can't do his own move anymore. Maybe it's time to retire that one, Ray. So I think Io Shirai does it. She does it. She does it well.
She's got
But
variation. Yeah.
who else does it? I can't think of anyone else who does the 619. But I've never been a mega fan of that, and I think maybe it is time for Ray to retire that one from his repertoire.
What about Double A or moderator extraordinaire? He wants the roll up for the pin to go in the bin.
Oh, the fluke roll up. I mean, where would we be without the fluke roll up? I mean, we'd have to rethink everything, wouldn't we? We'd have to just like, oh my God, we'd have to start again. We need the fluke roll up, don't we? But yeah, I do share, I do share his anguish over the fluke roll up. It is the groan finish of the year or the decade, if not the millennium. It's just like, oh, not again. So yeah. Another one I don't like, the Spanish Fly. I just think it's one of those. I mean, I know nearly every move requires the cooperation of the recipient. I understand this, but it's not supposed to be that obvious when the move is, occurring. We're not supposed to be able to see through it like that. And also, while we're on the subject, Bianca Belair's one-armed military press. Remember she did that against, was it Zelina Vega?
Yes,
And,
yes.
and it was obvious that Bianca let go with one arm, so it was obvious that Zelina Vega was like propping herself up with her arms. What's that? Come on.
I want to touch about because I actually don't know that. Maybe I'm showing myself up here or not knowing the name of this move. But the Bearded Baron said the Burning Hammer. The Burning Hammer,
Oh,
loved the move, but it's one of the few moves I think should be sacred. Kenta Kobashi used it so rarely, it always feels wrong
yeah,
seeing it kicked out of.
absolutely. That was the ultimate finisher. It was used in the greatest wrestling match of all time to this day. Kabashi Mizawa, March 2003, when Kabashi became GHC champion. Still the greatest match ever. And it was just like the ultimate finisher. And when Kabashi used the Burning Hammer, no one kicked out of that. It was sacred. Sacrosanct, Kenny.
What a word, sacrosanct.
Yeah. And,
Uh,
not to be messed with, not to be, just do not, trifle with that move. No one better kick out of that one.